All right, guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. My name is Eric Paulzine with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the round 1 recap and also the round 2 showdown picks, win expectations for round 2 of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Now, this first round was kind of interesting. I mean, it both went really well and not well at the same time. So like pretty much the biggest sweats right now are Matt Kuchar and Lucas Glover, which I'm perfectly fine with that. Glover kind of just started off slow, played on the hardest course. I think he ended up shooting +3, which not ideal. I was hoping he would shoot, if he was going to have a bad round, I was hoping he would shoot like +1. That's the worry there with me. And then Matt Kuchar as well. Matt Kuchar had a very weird round. Lots of birdies, but also was making a lot of bogeys. So that's going to be the worry there. I know a lot of people are on Cameron Tringale, which kind of just echoes the strategy that people have been going with in DFS. I talked about this last week. I'm going to talk about it again this week, is that people are really only worried about the upside where they don't care about the downside. Everyone could tell you that Cameron Tringale had a ton of risk with him this week. Coming off of those missed cuts, it was miscut top 10, miscut top 10. So he just had a top 10. So he was going to miss the cut, obviously, this week. But yeah, just being 26% owned and the third highest owned player on the slate, that was really shocking to me. So I actually put him as a low exposure play, and I sandwiched him together with Kevin Streelman because I thought those two players were kind of that exact same plays where, sure, the upside's there. You don't want to miss out on the upside. Have them in the maybe 10 to 5% ownership. Don't go crazy with it because the risk is still there for them to ruin your week, and it seems like that's the case with Cameron Tringale. And talking about like regression or players that are most likely to play well, he did not rank out number 1. He still ranked out pretty high, but it was kind of interesting there. So yeah, he's pretty much dead in the water. It's going to take a lot of things for him to have a good round. But yeah, round 1. So first round leader bets, guys. I am so mad at Jonas freaking Blitz. Ruined 3 for 3. And first round leader, since I've come out with that tool, since I came out with that betting tool, it's hit every single week. Every single course up until Jonas Blitz. And I'm trying to remember the AMX. There might have been one random like Jonas Blitz type player, but I think that ended up being a split. I don't remember that one exactly, but I know we had 2 for sure on that one. But still, 80 to 90% in 2022 for the first round leader, pretty darn good. And so just talking about it, Seamus Power, he was the second most likely to have the first round lead on his course. Tom Hoagie was the 5th most likely to have the first round lead on his course. And then Patrick Cantlay was number 1 for his course. So I'm mad at that, especially because the PGA Tour shot tracker said that he had to take a drop off of his drive. And I'm like, oh, great. We got it. 3 for 3. End up being a free drop or not even being a thing. Or heck, we might wake up tomorrow morning and see, hey, we're good to go. Weird stuff there. But just talking about round 1 a little bit more. Tom Hoagie obviously went low. Seamus Power had kind of the round of the day, if you will, because he had his on the harder track. And then Troy Merritt as well had a pretty good round on the harder track. We saw Spyglass play the hardest, then Pebble Beach, then the easiest was the MP course. So that is going to be something that we want to target once again in round 2 is going to be that Monterey Peninsula course. That is going to be the one that you want to target. But the thing with it for round 1 is if you targeted it, Patrick Cantlay did what he was supposed to do. After that, no one else really did. You look at Justin Rose, Maverick McNeely, Matt Kuchar, Jordan Spieth, all these guys that were, good plays didn't come through. And we are actually seeing kind of the cut sweat already come through. I'm going to pull that up here for you guys to show you guys the cut sweat real quick. Here we go. All right, so this is something that I just updated today, and it's going to be something I'm going to work on. It's still in beta, but hopefully I want to add in a couple more contests next week, and then I want you to be able to search by your name, which pulls up all your entries for that week. So right now, let's just do a random one. Let's see here. I don't know, this guy. So I wanted to count how many lineups you had, because I'm guessing this guy only had one lineup. This is in the $1 contest for right now. I'm going to add more contests. So this is for the $1. This is for the biggest single entry GPP or single entry cash contest. So he didn't enter that. His lineup right now, or lineups, has 3 out of 6 across the cut line. So let's keep going. Let's see someone else. This guy, Bob, 4. I have no idea how many lineups these people submitted. I want to get to one where we can see how many they submitted. What the heck, people? Why don't you submit more than one? Okay, whatever. I'm highlighting a couple. So like just between these people that I have selected, we can see 4 out of 3. And that's kind of the thing, is that there's not that many 6 for 6 lineups in GPPs right now. It sits at about 2% for 6 out of 6, 13% for 5 out of 6. And then as I expected on the week, it was going to be 4 out of 6 would be the norm across the cut line, because this is a tournament in which, yes, it's easier to predict who's going to play well. A bunch of our outright bets are sitting pretty right now. Troy Merritt, Seamus Power, Patrick Cantlay. Those 3 are sitting pretty right now outright bet wise. And, that's not hard to predict who's going to play well on this course. It's kind of, especially this week, it was kind of hard to finish out your build where you're kind of stuck in a dead zone, as I would call it. For me, that was the 8K range for the most part, or the 9K range, just 9K plays. And I think that's why Cameron Tringale's ownership was so high. Whereas a play like Matt Kuchar, it's just the correct play at that price point. That if he misses the cut, that's just going to happen. Same thing with Lucas Glover. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. If those guys had been priced the same as someone like Kevin Streelman, Cameron Tringale, or even in the 8K range, then I would have questioned it a little bit. But at their price point, it just made sense. They're the correct plays. If those two miss the cut for me, I'm fine with that. I'm gonna take that. And then in cash is actually a little bit higher. We're sitting at about 9% for 6 out of 6, and then 5% for 5 out of 6. So 4 out of 6 is still the norm there. So if you get 4 out of 6, you're not dead in the water, especially if you kind of went with some of the better plays on the slate. So definitely interesting one here. We can see Matt Kuchar directly affects the slate. Let's see, he's currently missing the cut. Jordan Spieth currently inside the cut. And, this is something that I think still needs the update from the final round, as of recording this. So, take it with a grain of salt. This could adjust by tomorrow morning anyways. But let's get into the round 2 showdown. So I do want to sort it by tee times. Once again, we want to be targeting the Monterey Peninsula course. That is just a guarantee. We want to do that. It's all about giving yourself the best likelihood to put together a good lineup. Okay, and that's why you'd want to target the MP course. It'd be like, I guess, in roulette, if they didn't have the zeros or green, it'd just be 50-50 each time. Well, actually, it'd be like if black had a little bit more numbers and red didn't have as much, you'd want to bet black every time then, where, it might be 55% in favor of black now, and red is, whatever, not the favorite. That's kind of what it is with the Monterey Peninsula course, because, yeah, there's going to be golfers that are still going to go low on the other tracks. We saw that with Seamus Power on the most difficult course. We saw it with Tom Hoagie. That's still going to happen, but you just want to be playing the most likely outcome. But just getting into who's most likely to win right now. And these odds are going to update in the morning. That's when the odds get updated for me. So 9 to 5 odds right now as it sits. Once again, this is going to update though. Patrick Cantlay, 26%. I'm going to guess that's going to be closer to like 12%. Okay. He still is going to be the favorite though. And then Tom Hoagie. Tom Hoagie had a great round. So, wouldn't it be too shocking to see him go out and win? And these 9 to 5 odds are, the Vegas odds are part of this as well. So that's why you might see a slight difference here where, Patrick Cantlay is most likely to win, Tom Hoagie's third, and then Seamus Power is second, whereas this has it slightly different. So I do think that these numbers are going to be kind of accurate right now, although Seamus Power having the low round of the day on the hardest track, he should be the favorite, I would say. Seamus Power, 9 to 5's golfer of the month. He's gonna win the first ever golfer of the year official award. He's playing well. I'm excited for him. So yeah, it's kind of interesting stuff there, but let's just look at win rank going into round 2. Once again, this win rank is just looking at players that are most likely to win heading into round 2. This is a round by round factor, whereas this is not as much that, because we're bringing in the Vegas odds, which obviously the Vegas odds don't have that. So just looking at that without factoring in the courses, we can see Patrick Cantlay, Seamus Power, Tom Hoagie, Andrew Putnam. That's a little bit shocking to me. Andrew Putnam, though, went off of the harder or the easier track. So, don't really worry about that. One thing that I want to point out is, outright bet Troy Merritt. He is sitting at 7th. Okay. I would say that number would be a little bit higher because he went out and had a good round on the Spyglass course as well. So, definitely an interesting play there. And then Jason Day. Jason Day's kind of interesting to me because kind of had a slow round going. He could have made some putts early on that would have made his score a little bit better. And also someone like Nick Taylor. Nick Taylor like 3-putted for bogey and then double bogeyed. And other than that, played phenomenal. He really let one putt kind of destroy his round. So he is someone that I think could go low as well. Some of the players that struggled on the MP course, like Jordan, like Maverick, I'm a little bit worried about them, to be honest with you. So interesting stuff there. And then Kevin Streelman, I mentioned it with Cameron Tringale, pretty much the same play. Cameron Tringale and Kevin Streelman, his ownership was a lot lower, which was a little bit shocking to me there because, once again, pretty much the same play. But let's get into it. I already went through and, well, here, we'll talk about this. Regression, most likely did not play well. Going to splits, that just makes sense. Pretty much everyone that went out and played well in the MP course not going to go out and play well this time. Let's get into regression in the other way, though. So which players are most likely to play better than they did in round one and round two? So note, I said Cameron Tringale was not number one. He's not number one here. It's actually Matt Kuchar. So Cameron Tringale pretty much played so bad that the data is saying, he's just having a bad week, which maybe he bounces back. We could, that wouldn't be too shocking to see, but as it sits right now, that's what we're looking at. Then Matt Kuchar, the most likely to have a better round. He kind of had a strange round, was making birdies, but also making a lot of bogeys. If he cleans up those bogeys, he would have had a much better round. Lucas Glover played on the harder track. So yeah, no surprise that he is due to play better. Michael Thompson, Matthias Schaub, Aaron Rye. So he started off hot. I think he made like 3 straight birdies and then sucked. Ryan Palmer started off really bad and then kind of had a better round. Same thing for Seabass. So some interesting stuff there. I do like Vincent Whaley popping up there a little bit because Vincent Whaley is going to have the MP course tomorrow as well. So let's just look at, just as a blanket statement before we get into course specific, who is most likely to, or who are the top picks for round one. No real surprise there, Matt Kuchar. He's someone that was expected to play well. Kind of did, just had too many bogeys. So no surprise there. That's up to you guys to decide if that is correct or not. Obviously didn't do what we wanted him to do on the easier track, so that's a little worrisome. But kind of an interesting name, Russell Knox. Russell Knox, the guy that can go low. He actually started off pretty good and kind of tailed off at the end. Interesting to see Ryan Palmer, Justin Rose popping up there. Kevin Kisner, this is all nice. It's good to look at. But what we want to do is we want to get it course specific for Monterey Peninsula. So let's get into that, which I already done. I'm just switching over to a different tab. So I already done that for you guys. So Russell Knox gets Monterey Peninsula. So I do like him as a pick. -2 could have been much better than that. So yeah, I don't mind him. And then Jason Day I like as well. So Jason Day, I already mentioned it. He started off really hot and just didn't make any putts. And there are putts that Nick Taylor had drained as well, who Nick Taylor is also popping up here as well. But look at that. This is by fantasy points, which I have it sorted by. If we want to do it by rank, we can do it by rank. Not a huge difference there. At the end of the day, fantasy points are what we're most worried about. That's what the lineup optimizer is going to be spitting out to us. So we'll do it by rank. Chase Seifert casually popping up there. That's interesting because he's someone that PGA Tour coverage, the PGA Tour Live showed a lot early on, and he ended up shooting -1. So I don't, if you want to go with him, you can. Vincent Whaley, not a bad pick. So this is where it kind of gets a little bit different here. That's why I like looking at fantasy points, but even still, Nick Taylor looking like a quality pick, Joel Damon, Scott Piercy, Tom Hoge, Jason Day. So let's get back into fantasy points because that's what we're worried about the most. So I think you could actually just make a lineup with these guys right here. Russell Knox, good play. Jason Day, already mentioned. Tom Hoge. Tom Hoge is interesting because typically speaking, a golfer that went out and played well in round one, typically, especially like Tom Hoge, where, an okay play, top 30 in the model, not someone you're going crazy with, especially at his price point this week, but it's kind of part of the risk, I guess, this week was Tom Hoge as a pick because his upside was there. It was like, just talking about Cameron Tringale, I guess, like Tom Hoge or Cameron Tringale, like the price difference, yeah, you should have probably ended up on Hoge, but then again, why don't you just go with like Kuchar or Glover? I don't know. It's just a weird thing that's going on in DFS lately. It's just the lack of care for downside. It's just weird, but I get back into it here. I digress. There we go. Regress, whatever. Yeah, Tom Hoge, I do like. So obviously we're not expecting -9 out of him, but if we can get like -3, lock that in, we'll take that. Obviously he's hitting it well, so it's nice to see that he's popping up, projected to have some good points. Then Mito, I think is just like going to be a safe play this week. He's probably going to be right around made or missed cut, but I think he'll be like 1 or 2 strokes inside of the made cut, just like a safe, easy made cut. So if you want to roll with him tomorrow, you can. Nick Taylor, I already mentioned, really his round should have been better. Shouldn't have 3-putted, and then he shouldn't have just had that mental error after the 3-putt. Really, it was drive down the fairway, and then he missed in the one spot he couldn't on the course, and it was an easy approach shot. And it was just one of those mental things where you're just mad at yourself for 3-putting pretty much. And then he ended up making a double bogey. So, 1 putt, 3 strokes pretty much is what happened there. So he could have easily done better than that. You can say that for a lot of golfers, I know, but I was watching it live. So I just thought I'd bring that out to you guys. And then Joel Damon, don't mind him, Taylor Moore, Patrick Rogers, we're filling in there. And kind of the problem here is that we can see no real studs to pay up for. So we might be forced to play some players that have the Pebble Beach tee time. So I'm just going to pull that up here real quick. Pebble Beach tee time. So are there any studs here that we can potentially pay up for? So we're going to go into round 2. Maybe Chaz. He's not a stud for sure. Nothing. Seamus Power, we could go back to Power, I guess. Troy Merritt, we could go back to those two. I'd be fine with that. That would work. Be okay with that. Brian Harmon, I'm okay with that. But once again, no real studs. Remember 2 weeks ago, round 2, same exact format where it's like there's just not enough quality studs to pay up for. And everyone on the leaderboard was like, round 2 ranking, it was like 4, and then it went to like 50. So it was like, oh my gosh, we just had to play the less favorable second course instead. That's not exactly what we had this week. So should be good with round 2 stuff there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it here, guys. I do want to just mention real quick on what's going on with Bryson and Phil here real quick, because it's kind of interesting to me. So if you guys don't know, the Saudi league is pretty much trying to throw a bunch of money at Bryson to make him pretty much the highest paid golfer ever, which it's a weird thing to me. I'm going to bring up 2 examples for this real quick. So if we want to look at live streaming with gaming, okay, Twitch is kind of like the main thing where now people are starting to branch out to YouTube and other stuff. But before that, about 2 years ago now, there was like Twitch and Mixer. Mixer was an afterthought. They made 2 big moves. They went and got out Ninja. For those of you guys that don't know Ninja, he's like the guy with the green hair or different colored hair. He did the weird thing on New Year's. It was weird. But anyways, Mixer gave him a fat contract to switch from Twitch. Then they ended up doing that with Shroud, who is a popular gamer. He's a really good gamer. They ended up doing that with him. And they brought in those 2 main guys from Twitch and thought that was going to carry them. It actually turned out that was like the worst move that they could do, because about 8 months later, Mixer shut down. And then those gamers end up kind of having their career go down the drain a little bit. I mean, they're still popular guys. They're still big names, but not as big as they were as when they were still at Twitch. So that is just kind of an example of what could occur to someone like Bryson and Phil. Now for Phil, this is the other example that I want to get into. It's kind of like WWE when there's competition coming in. Someone like the WCW back in the day, the AEW right now, is that they would go out, like, let's just do, I don't know, someone like CM Punk for the wrestling fans. Like, CM Punk is an old, washed up, not going to give you much on the mat type of guy right now. But AEW is paying him because, well, he's a name. He's a name value. That is something that some people would buy into. They don't really care about the quality. They care about the character. And that's where Phil brings value, because he's a big name. That'd be something that'd help the brand. That'd be something to bring in, players. But at the end of the day, just throwing money at golfers doesn't really make too much sense to me for them, because, like, at the end of the day, there has to be something worthwhile. It can't just be money. And, something that's interesting to me about the whole Bryson thing, that actually makes perfect sense. We look at Bryson as a player. He's kind of been a leader on the PGA Tour already. We talk about the distance, like bulking up, and just trying to get stronger to be the best player on tour. While we saw a bunch of other golfers kind of ruin their golf game by trying to chase distance, like Rory mentioned that, Tony Finau kind of mentioned that, some golfers that kind of ruined their year by trying to chase distance because that's what Bryson had done. Then we look at Victor Hovland, who, he did a couple of bicep curls and now he's the best player in golf. It's working out for him. But Bryson, about 8 months ago, he got into NFTs. And now the PGA Tour is trying to get into those too. That story came out about a month ago. We look at Bryson on YouTube. About 8 months ago, he started his YouTube channel, and it's been pretty successful, covering like his day in life. Now, PGA Tour and Netflix had a partnership together to, highlight golfers in their day in life. And so those are like just two examples of the way like Bryson has grown the game of golf just based off of him. So it does make a lot of sense that he would be the one golfer that they would go after. He's polarizing, and he's already done the match. He does obviously care about money, chasing money. So it would make sense. Those would be the two biggest names, but it's weird. I don't know if the PGA community would really care if either of them left. I know everyone loves Phil, but Phil doesn't compete in golf tournaments anymore, and it does make sense for Phil to go over there because, once again, for Phil, it'd be like Champions Tour. What's the point of that? He can dominate on there right now. Can't really compete on the PGA Tour, so might as well get your money while you can. Might as well get your money somewhere else where, I think it's like maybe $200K to win a Champions Tour event. I'm not sure. I haven't looked that up at all recently. But over there, it could be like $2 million to win an event, $3 million to win an event. Or I think it'd be like a yearly contract. So it would make more sense for him over there. But then again, there's the whole political side, which I'm not going to get into it. A lot of people are saying it's like whitewashing in sports. Once again, I don't want to get into that. I care about sports only. So just interesting stuff going on there in the golf world, kind of fun stuff, just to see how it's going to play out. But it's the PGA Tour. They have the connections. You look at Korn Ferry Tour, Canadian Tour, the Latin Tour, the DP Tour. Like, the PGA Tour is fine. They don't have to worry about it. As long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot 300 times, they don't have to worry about this at all. It's kind of like, I think we summed it up pretty well. Like, at the end of the day, this new competition, it's just not going to work out in the long run. So, yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Kind of a fun video. Kind of got off the rails there a little bit, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. And as always, let's keep cashing.